The news fest.
News. Um, anyway, all right. It is Monday, February 9th. We are in a countdown to family reunion, which typically kind of is that energy moment in the calendar when the year really feels like it kicks off, right? Like we usually start the year, and by the time family reunion gets here, it always feels like that's the energy bomb of the first quarter that really kicks off the year. So when we're jumping into these numbers, I keep asking the question like, is the year starting fast? The year starting slow? I think you're going to be excited when I get the numbers up here. Rick, any comments while I'm pulling the numbers up?
Nope, I was returning a text.
Okay, there you go. All right, moving on.
I agree with you. The Super Bowl was boring.
All right, there you go. All right, we will get homes sold for January by next week. We always wait till about the 15th of the month to get the trailing closings in to make sure we got good data. But starting off the week, I don't have the right data here. Did I click too early? There we go. Broward County single family. There we go. 887 active status changes, and boom, 204 went under contract and 161 pending. So I'm going to use this one as the example, but the question is spring market, we're on an incline. So we started the year at 149 going under contract a week. Then we went to 172. Then we had a low week. Then we went up to 183. And now we're at 204 going under contract in a 7 day total. Same time on the pending, we started at 148 and we're now up to 161 on a 7 day total, which just tells us it's speeding up pretty fast, right? 190 closed out Broward County single family. And then obviously the expireds, canceled, withdrawns. Looks to be a normal cadence of properties expiring first week of February. Broward County condos, 1,040 active status changes, 125. So they had a big 7 day total a week ago. It's still a large total at 125, but not as big as last week's. But we had 127 go pending. So if you put these together, pretty much the same total the last 2 weeks going pending under contract. 147 closed out in the last 7 days. And then still large numbers expiring Broward County condos. If we jump down to Miami-Dade, Broward County, Miami-Dade single family, 808 active status changes, 129. So big week last week, a little bit softer this week, but still bigger than we've seen the first part of January. 202 went pending. Broward County single family, I mean, Miami-Dade single family, uh, just a big increase in the pending number. And then 169 closed out in the last 7 days. If I jump down to Miami-Dade condos, man, my mouse is not working. 1,088, 92. So it's been a pretty consistent cadence of around 90 to 93 properties going under contract, Miami-Dade condos, yet 153 pending. That's a big jump. And 186 closings in the last 7 days is a big jump. So that condo market, Miami-Dade, is certainly heated up. Still a lot of expired, canceled, withdrawn, popping every single week. And then Palm Beach, single family, we got 908 active status changes. There are 54 in the coming soon bucket in Palm Beach. 231 went under contract and 147 pending. So not as strong as maybe the last 2 weeks, but it's certainly still a strong week. I don't want to communicate. Strong numbers in Palm Beach single family, 212 closed out in the last 7 days. It's a big number. And then the condo market, 783 active status changes, 135 largest year to date going under contract, and 108 pending. We did 112 the week before, so second highest in the pending category, but certainly the highest in the closing category in a 7 day total. Palm Beach condos. What do y'all see? What are you feeling?
I like the consistency. It just tells me there's opportunity. And as an agent, if you're not getting your unfair share, the question should be, what are you going to do differently going forward that allows you to have more relational energy to capture more business?
You should be riding a wave of momentum right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
I'm seeing it as well, especially on my listings that got a little stagnant in December. I got a lot more showings going on right now on those listings than I have in the last 30 days.
Yeah, I love that, Lance. I mean, the what numbers we don't track on here is like how many phone calls you're getting, how many people are walking into your open houses. We could probably get some showing data, which would be interesting, but I would venture to say showings are up.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing that too, and we've had a lot under contract this week, and the conversations that we're having are really intense now with both buyers and sellers about where the market is, and it really is working. We're finding that the harder we are on them to really give them the reality of it, they're listening and they're pricing right, and the buyers are buying right, and we've double-ended two this week.
Good for
Great
you.
job.
Congrats.
And that's a contrast of the previous 90 days, Chris, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's got to do with my mindset and how I'm talking to people as well. We're walking away from things that are overpriced, and we're not working with buyers that are unrealistic either.
Yeah, I think what I love about this call, and Keisha, I'm coming to you, but what I love about this call is I hope you hear the dialogue of your peers. I hope you hear the dialogue of us, and it actually translates into day-to-day conversations, right? Like that's the goal of a lot of these conversations is to give you the talking points and not just hear it for entertainment value, but it to translate to actual conversations with buyers and sellers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and practice makes perfect. If you're in the game, repeating those conversations and recognizing areas where they're working or not working, that's the key. Practice makes perfect. So activity, leads to opportunity.
I had 7 calls returned on Saturday from expired. 7 people called me back after leaving messages, people I didn't know, of course. And it was always the same thing. They're very frustrated with the people they had initially listing their house. So
Yeah.
it's a conversation. It's certainly something that your agent intelligence has to rise to get those listings.
I like that, Jeff. All right, Keisha, you're up.
I've been showing properties to two different buyers, one in the 500s to 600, and the other one to the 8 to 900. And a lot of homes are going on a contract in 2 days in both price area. Trying to set up showings. It's been on the market 2 days. They're already working and negotiating a contract. So 2 day markets are there if it's priced right.
That's good. Really
That
good.
is good.
All right. No news is good news in mortgage. It sure looks like the mortgage rates are holding around that 6.15. I think they were 6.17 a week ago. It's still a great mortgage rate. I know everybody would love a 5 on that number, and I do think some people are getting locked in with 5s on that number. Yet, I just think perspective I have on this is it's a great rate for our market to start 2026 with. And that is contrast of where we started 2025 with. It took 6 months in 2025 for the rates to get down to an exciting number. We're starting the year with an exciting number. And who knows where it'll go. If you try to predict this, you're going to end up with your foot in your mouth like I always do. But the reality is it's a great rate to start 2026 with. And it's pretty doggone stable is what I'm trying to say is it's not moving a lot right now.
And I still like the mentality, Brett, of, buy the house and date the rate. In other words, the rate, if the rate does happen to drop, you have capacity to refinance. So I don't think a six number, if someone's really got their heart set on a move and an opportunity and a life change, that needs to be the conversation with confidence, like Chris mentioned. And, your energy is going to be what's reflected in their feeling.
Yep. I think our mortgage friends and title friends are starting to do refis to prove that theory true, right, Rick? Like there's quite a few people that bought property at that 7% rate, right?
And higher.
And we were trying to tell that rhetoric of marry the house, date the rate for a long time, and it took a
That's it.
while, but at some point in time, there's always that opportunity. And even at 6.15, somebody will get a refi opportunity a few years from now in the low fives, but just not right now.
Yeah, and make sure you mention the interest deduction, from their taxes and the true impact of a half or a quarter point. In some cases, it's not significant.
Yep. All right. Moving on.
Oh,
So,
wait, before you move on, the other thing when you're working with buyers, the thing to remind them of is that a lot of sellers are offering concessions nowadays, and those concessions can be used to buy down a half a point, a quarter point. Um, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and Brett, I think you and we had this conversation when you were in town about. I personally believe that mortgage rates are where they need to be. I'm personally hoping they don't drop too much lower. I think we now have a balanced market as far as prices go. And look, 2019, prior to COVID, where were our interest rates? Five and a half, five and three quarters. We're not far off of where we were pre-COVID. So I think this is a great market to be in right now. A lot of opportunity.
Well, there you go. That illustrates the energy I was trying to describe. Thanks, Lance. Confidence in where you stand and supported by the data.
One other thing that goes along with that, Lance, too, on the mortgage rate is we've been asking people, okay, what's a rate that you're comfortable with? And then when they give us the rate, we figure out what 2 years worth of that additional payment between 5 and 6.5%. And then we say, okay, well, then let's just find a property that we can negotiate that $15,000 down off the purchase price or get it as a credit or work around that until you're ready to refinance in 2 years.
I love it.
That's awesome.
All right. The next couple articles, the way I'll preface this conversation is one of the things we like to do on the industry update is kind of keep you informed around the industry and what's flying at the industry. So let me start with this article. So Robert Refkin is the top guy at Compass, is pushing on the idea of this national MLS. If you jump down into this article, he's saying he's at war with what he calls organized real estate. And he's like, I believe we shouldn't have 518 MLSs. I believe the brokerages should come together, create a common MLS that brokerages and agents own, yada, yada, yada. The MLS, the National Association of Realtors, in the organization of real estate that way, along with the Zillow as a third-party aggregator, is what he's wanting to put pressure on a national scale in our industry. Opinions vary, but why I put this on this screen is because I want you to know that these are some of the pressure points that they're doing at a national scale against our industry or for our industry, depending on what side of the fence you're on, right? But his whole goal is to revamp a lot of the way the industry is done from a board of realtors standpoint, from a MLS standpoint, And I have opinions. I'll keep mine private for the moment. But the reality of what I'm putting this on the screen about is you're going to hear conversations. And if you serve at a board level, this is certainly going to come up. If you're dealing with properties on Zillow, this is certainly going to have some effects of the pressure that's coming at the industry around National Association of Realtors, their value proposition to the industry, the coordinated effort with MLS. And certainly, I've got another article talking about Zillow here in a second that I think is fascinating. So anyway, then on the opposite side of that, the National Association of Realtor president went on stage and said, "We don't dictate what's right and wrong." That's the headline, but you got to read deeper into it. He's saying we don't dictate what's right and wrong about a system. We're going to let the marketplace dictate, what's best for the members. We think that locally, the local marketplaces should dictate what's best for those local marketplaces. So this is NAR's position that Miami Board of Realtors, Broward Board of Realtors, all the Board of Realtors should be dictating what's best for our local market, where the Refkin opinion is, no, we need to organize at a national level of what's best. I think it's a conversation that's happening in boardrooms. It's conversation that's happening at National Association of Realtors, and it's certainly being played out probably in court a little bit. And it's a further conversation of the NAR lawsuit from a few years ago. And there's certainly another lawsuit that just came down the pipe, and I'll show you here in a minute in another article, but I just wanted you to have awareness of the pressure or the talking points that are coming at our industry. Any comments?
It looks like a liability, diversion to me. I think everyone's running scared after the class action suits to draw a line around right and wrong.
Right.
And they're trying to defer and deflect. And we're the board of advisors and supporters, and we're going to navigate. Obviously, NAR is a strong advocate for protecting mortgage interest rights and homeowner rights, and in the process protect us. But these days, to really draw a line in the sand is risky business when you're perceived to have a lot of resource in terms of money.
Yep. Anybody sit on boards? Is this conversation coming up? Nobody sits on boards these days. You should sit on boards these days.
Hopefully they're not sitting on a board right now.
Okay, there you go. All right.
You're excited to be here. Double entendre.
All right. So this is fascinating to me. So Compass sues Zillow because if you're not aware, Compass is trying to do this private listing network playbook. But Zillow went out and said, if you list a house off market private listing, we will block you from that listing ever being on Zillow. And I have had friends in different parts of the country that have received letters from Zillow blocking their listings from actually going on to the third-party aggregator website because they pre-marketed listings. And Compass tried to go into the court system and block Zillow from doing this. And last week, the judge denied that motion, meaning for now, Zillow has the right to block listings that were pre-marketed in a private listing capacity. And I think if you were on a listing appointment that you were going up against an agent that was, say, a Compass agent that was trying to use a value proposition that said, oh, we'll put you in a private listing network, this article would be an article I would put in front of them. It said, listen, that actually could harm you long term. Because if you go down that route, they're not telling you this, but it actually would damage your exposure long term of being on the most visited portal for getting exposure to your listing. And it's still being fought out in court. And we've got technology we could turn on tomorrow to do a private listing network. We're just not convinced it's the right path, because I think that it harms the seller, is one of the arguments. And two, if you take a listing and put it into a private listing network and that listing never goes on Zillow, I actually think that really damages your marketability of that listing. So we're watching and sitting intentionally on the sidelines of not playing this playbook. But I think you need to know about it, one, and two, this is a real thing. I've got friends that have received these letters that are saying, we will not put your listing on Zillow because you marketed it off market. Any thoughts?
That's the reason why Compass wants a national MLS, so they don't have to fight with Zillow.
You better believe it.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, I almost think, well, first you want to analyze why they're doing it, right? Because they want to try to double side as many deals as possible is the only rational reason I can come up with in my mind. But I actually believe that private listings and off-market listings, or pocket listings as we used to call them, I believe that's a breach of your fiduciary responsibility to your customer to market that property to the best of your ability.
Look, I think every agent has the empowerment to give advice and opinions to their sellers that they believe is the best approach. And I tend to agree with that thought process, but I'm neutral in the sense that I want every agent to be able to give their advice and opinions of because that's your unique value proposition to a seller, right? So we're watching it, but they're in this article where it's talking about the national MLS. Down here at the bottom, he's saying that Zillow offered Compass up to $1.6 billion if we prevented our agents from marketing off Zillow. I don't know if that's accurate. I think he's a career politician. So he apparently turned them down, but he's certainly playing this game, and it's certainly a part of our industry, and we just need our agents all aware. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and the ultimate question to me is what's the consumer opinion relative to this news? Is this really our conversation, or is it trickled out into the public and they're now debating the merits of whether, private or not private? I think ultimately take this information and roll it into your value proposition and make sure your clients are clear on why choosing you is the number one best idea on the planet. But also don't make something out of nothing if they don't know. I mean, just share what you do and why, and don't complicate things. That's my best advice, because the courts are going to figure this out at some point.
100%. Well, moving on. Did you see the homes.com commercial in the Super Bowl yesterday? They did it with apartments.com, which I thought was interesting from a collaboration standpoint. But this article on Housing Wire is talking about how realtor.com is really growing. And they're talking about in here, where is it? They had a 10% increase in revenue. But more importantly, according to ComScore data cited by the Post, Realtor.com drove 3.4 times the visit share of Homes.com and 2.3 times Redfin, while rapidly catching Zillow by closing more than half the visit share gap over the past 18 months. So Zillow is still the website that's getting the largest percentage of consumer eyeballs. But what this is saying is, and data comes in so late, but realtor.com is coming in second, and then homes.com is coming in third, followed by Redfin. And it just makes me think, if you're an agent that plays a lead aggregator game, and you may have bailed on realtor.com over the past couple of years, maybe it's something you look back into. If they're getting the eyeballs, it could be an opportunity. And I still believe Zillow's the largest market share of eyeballs, but I think realtor.com is still growing exponentially in terms of consumers looking at real estate. That's what I got from this article. Any other thoughts?
Shows they're still relevant and their
All right.
marketing strategies appear to be working.
Okay, let me hit this article real quick. So last week, Keller Williams settled what's called the Batten Commission lawsuit. This was the second giant class action lawsuit that came at the industry after the Sitzler Burnett one. And why does this matter for us? Because Keller Williams settled this lawsuit, it actually, here's what it says. Keller Williams is pleased to reach a nationwide settlement releasing the company and all of our franchises and our agents and teams from antitrust litigation brought by home buyers who purchased residential real estate that was listed on the multiple listing service during the relevant time period. So any Keller Williams transaction is now released from litigation around that antitrust lawsuit. We were the first company to settle. And what I know, when you class action lawsuits, the first company to settle usually takes a little bit of heat for settling, but also becomes the leading edge of protecting its entity, in the sense that, not that I think any agent was worried about antitrust litigation, but it could have been, because you were a party to that transaction. We were a party to that transaction. And since Keller Williams settled this lawsuit, we are now the only agents and company that is absolved of this litigation. So you just need to be aware that they just wrote a $20 million check to protect all of us and our businesses. So I think that's important.
That's a big deal, Brett. I
Yeah.
mean, I hope everybody's listening. Like, when your corporate, the people at the top take a stand and put their money where their mouth is to protect us so that we can go about our regular daily business, it's a big deal. I remember when the Sitzer lawsuit first landed and they won, copycat lawsuits started dropping like flies everywhere, and they were targeting local brokerages. Top teams were even on the threat list. And I mean, the ripple effect of winning a case of that magnitude and then not having it, paid and defended. So, part of the defense was that it protected anyone affiliated with or connected to. It's a big deal. I'm proud of what we're doing and how we're managing things from a liability play. And, they're not calling us to start writing checks either. It's just baked into the system, and they own their role.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to let you read this article, but there's a article on Fox Business that says Florida City sees double home value return as wealthy buyers consolidate fortunes in luxury markets. Palm Beach leads the state's fastest growing markets. And I'm going to let you read this article because I want to make sure we have time to hit this one real quick. This article says, what's in, what's out? 5 marketing shifts you can't ignore. So the first one is audacious marketing is out, authentic marketing is in. Authenticity in a social media world, in a direct mail world, in an email world is what the consumer is looking for. They're not looking for the look good approach. They want authenticity. And I think that that's really important to understand is be your authentic self because that's what's attracting consumers to you. The second thing is mass marketing is out, becoming micro famous is in. There was a time when blasting a message to as many people as possible worked, sending thousands of mailers, da 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 da. But today, growth comes from becoming micro famous by being deeply known in a small, specific area or niche. It is better to dominate one neighborhood of 500 homes than to casually market to 5,000 households. So, hyper local is in, like, go all in on your community, go all in on where you can get market share from a local perspective. Look at me marketing as out and look at you marketing in as in. Instead of highlighting a sale, highlight the story behind it. It's all about them. This is interesting. It says adding assistance is out, building AI systems is in. So what I like about this is I think it will help the bottom line of real estate professionals if they have a lower staff cost, but can figure out how to automate some of their systems through AI. But there's a giant learning curve to that too. Um, and it's certainly one of the top five things that are in right now. And then the fifth one is part-time agents are out, full-time professionals are in. The pandemic created a unique session where almost anyone could close a deal or two since everybody wanted to buy real estate. That market is gone. Today's buyers and sellers know the process is harder, more nuanced, and higher risk than it's been in years. They aren't looking for a favor, they're looking for a professional. So the last thing is momentum, guys. That's what we're talking about on here. So any final thoughts to our Monday, January 9th industry update?
I had two thoughts, Brett. One is I would be curious to know if I asked you right now, who are the top five people in the real estate industry and business, your contemporaries, your peers outside of your market area that are doing the authentic, real approach to sharing information around their community? Are you following? And if you can't name them, you should find them because that's the role model. And I know of two that you might want to write down. One is Frank Brockway in Atlanta. He's doing a tremendous job with regular. Hey, this is Frank. I'm on the street. Check this out. It's a new this. It's an advancement of that. And watch this neighborhood evolve. And this is, a new fill in the blank. And the other is a guy named Cooper Denton, who's a young fella. So if you're young in the business, this guy's to me defying the paradigm in terms of how people see, age as a factor in choosing a real estate professional. I think he's probably 24, 23 years old, and his quality of promotion and video is unbelievable. And so I agree with the authentic conversation. The other thing I would say is that there's still, as much as AI is a powerful tool, I think leverage through people is still a factor to consider. When I hired my first assistant, it changed my entire world and my focus. So don't write that off just because the news article is looking to grab your attention with technology.
Fair statement, Rick. And it's both, right? Like we talk like don't abandon direct mail to go to social media. You should do both. Don't abandon all people help just to go to AI. You got to probably figure out the formula between the two, right?
Well, to me, it goes back to calculate, look at your day planner for the last month, day in and day out. Where's the 20% that move the needle? Look at the 80% that should be outsourced, subcontracted, or possibly deferred and delayed, and then decide whether is this an automatable AI, solution, or is this a people puzzle? And then be real strategic about how you enhance your 20% focus.
There you go.
Rick, what were those two names again? I couldn't write fast enough.
That's all right. One is Frank Brockway. He's a personal friend, so I might be a little biased, but I watch his videos religiously. Brockway. And the second one was Cooper Denton. I think it's Denton. I was at a speaking engagement, a real estate summit, and met this young fella, and that's how I found him. And now I'm in his feed, his Facebook feed, And I think he's got charisma, and he just does an incredible job of being seen as the local, real estate expert. And it's all things fun. It's not just real estate.
If you
It's
go
very,
in
very authentic.
if you're looking on Canva, I think Brockway has some templates that he uses for his social media, as well as some other pieces. So check that out there.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's a very strategic guy who's built a very strong local presence. And that's the secret sauce. It's local, hyper specific, and hyper real and authentic. That's what the article really was trying to say, or did say. Yeah, this guy, he's just got a certain way about him. He's just real.
He's up in Knoxville, Tennessee.
He is Knoxville. He makes Knoxville look cool enough that I might have to move there one day.
Uh-huh. There you go. All right,
Probably
you guys.
not.
I like to start and end on time. We're a few minutes over. Happy Monday.
Hopefully that was a valuable piece of the conversation, though.
It was.
Thank you.
We
Bye,
love you
guys.
guys. Thanks for coming. If you weren't here, we'd be awfully bored.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.